Hi, my name is Brad Olson. This is my Inklings project for Dr. Bartels Major Christian Authors. I'm going to be speaking on C.S. Lewis and Christianity. Clive Staples Lewis was born on November 29, 1898 in Belfast, Northern Ireland, to Albert J. Lewis and Florence Augusta Hamilton. Lewis's mother died in 1908 from cancer. From April 26th until September in 1917, Lewis was a student at University College, Oxford. 3 years after the outbreak of World War I in Britain, he enlisted in the British Army and was billeted in Keble College, Oxford for officers' training. In 1929, Lewis became a theist, and in 1931, Lewis became a Christian. And J.R. Tolkien, as well as Hugo Dyson, may have had some influence towards his decision. In 1946, Lewis was awarded his honorary Doctor of Divinity from the University of St. Andrews, and in 1950, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was released. On November 22, 1963, 1 week before his 65th birthday at 5:30 p.m., on the same day that President Kennedy was assassinated, C.S. Lewis died. His grave is in the yard at the Holy Trinity Church, Headington Quarry, Oxford. C.S. Lewis left his childhood Christian faith to spend years as a determined atheist. After finally admitting God existed, Lewis gave in and knelt in prayer to become what he described later as the most dejected and reluctant convert in all England. Lewis's journey away from his former Christian faith was to be blamed by his mother's death from cancer as he was a boy. Lewis was shocked that God did not heal her, and because of this unfortunate circumstance, it led him down a road of rationalism and atheism. As Lewis journeyed back to the Christian faith as well as conversion, he thought it impossible because he struggled with being convinced that faith was reasonable. His journey back can be used and seen as a great influence for Christians today, especially concerning evangelism in an unbelieving generation. In time, Lewis came to see evil and suffering as both an argument against atheism and an argument for God and Christianity. Suffering was a dilemma for atheism. Only within Christianity did Lewis find a satisfactory explanation. In Mere Christianity, Lewis says, "My argument against God was that the universe seemed so cruel and unjust. Just how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust? Thus, in the very act of trying to prove that God did not exist, in other words, that the whole of reality was senseless, I found I was forced to assume that one part of reality, namely my idea of justice, was full of sense. Consequently, atheism turns out to be too simple. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should have never have found out that it has no meaning." Lewis eventually came to realize that altogether suffering and pain are not without purpose, and he based this claim off of what is told to us in Genesis about how Joseph told his brothers about how their harmful actions were actually used for good. He used Genesis 50:20 to make this declaration, and it says in the ESV, "As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." Once again, Lewis lost someone, his wife, Joy, of only 3 years, and she died from cancer. Lewis's struggles show that misunderstanding Christianity can keep a person from Christ. Much of Lewis's apologetic and evangelistic work, such as Mere Christianity, simply unpacked for the masses a clearer picture of classical Christianity. To be effective evangelists and apologists, we must be good theologians. Lewis enjoyed reading the works of the Christian author George MacDonald. "What it actually did to me," wrote Lewis, "was to convert, even to baptize, my imagination." He enjoyed reading the works of G.K. Chesterton as well. In 1929, these roads met, and C.S. Lewis surrendered, admitting God was God, and knelt and prayed. Within 2 years, the reluctant convert also moved from atheism to Christianity and joined the Church of England. After his conversion, Lewis's life and writings set out in a new direction. His Christian books sold millions of copies. Through preaching sermons, giving talks and speeches, as well as speaking his theological views over the radio throughout the United Kingdom, Lewis's reputation greatly increased alongside his book sales. C.S. Lewis has placed a great influence upon Christians since the beginning of his writings, sermons, and speeches. Because of his expression of his freely proclaimed thoughts and revelations, many have come to a more solid understanding and belief in morality, purpose, and most ultimately God and Christianity. His works, words, and lifelong story will not be forgotten, as he left a legacy behind for Christians and soon-to-be Christians that will be able to enjoy and learn from him in the future. Thank you.